I took a cotton breathable bag, and that's what I kept my root vegetables and stuff in. I took taters, carrots, and I took radishes, and that's all I got left over, but I still have it left over. You'd be amazed at what a fantastic meal you can make with just these ingredients right here and maybe a bouillon cube and some rice or something. You'll see me doing that, and you'll see just how versatile these things are. And unlike these fake bushcraft videos you see of people cooking big juicy steaks and using mangoes and what's the rest of the world called mangoes? Bell peppers is what we call them, mangoes in Appalachia. But using perfectly preserved mangoes, bell peppers, like this lush, crispy lettuce and stuff like that. That is not the true nature of cooking in the woods for real. The people who are doing that are not in the woods. They're 100 yards from their house, in trees, doing these presentations. The real nature of being on foot and being in the backcountry for real, in the backcountry that you don't own, that's a big mystery to you, is that things take a beating. And these sorts of things, taters, radishes, carrots, root vegetables, things like that, can take a beating. And they go a long way. They're very versatile. You can do lots of different things with them. I had plans for these here to make another meal with these leftover things. But you see, they've been in my pack. They've just been beaten up left and right, and yet they're still perfectly good. I can still use these perfectly good for food. That's the true nature of real meals in real woods. It's a pet peeve of mine, watching these people lie to you and present this false narrative that they're deep in the woods, and here they're cooking with a cast iron skillet, or they're cooking some elaborate meal with ingredients that could not take abuse for any length of time in real conditions in the real woods. So learn to spot that. Learn to spot when you're being lied to like that. Beans. Now, what did I tell you about being in the backcountry? I told you things take a beating, don't they? Look at the side of that tin. It's all beat up, isn't it? That's the true nature of being out in the woods. So you see these fake bushcrafters out there cooking with eggs and stuff like that, and perfectly preserved, crispy vegetables and all that stuff. You know they're not out in the woods for real. Nothing you're seeing there is for real. This is for real. It's got to be able to take abuse. The beans. I used up all the beans. So in the video on this trip, as I said, I prepared a nice hearty meal of beans. I had them for supper, and then I had them for breakfast the next morning, and my goodness gracious, they were good. I took yellow split peas. Also, the tin is beat up. You can see it's all dented and beat up. I only used a portion of those, so I still had plenty left. Could have lived off my food supply for a month if I'd gotten lost, or it was the end of the world, or any of those sorts of things. I would have been perfectly fine. Took some leather gloves with me. Primarily their use was for working around the fire, cooking, getting pots on and off the fire and things like that. I got to take my fancy wooden ladle out and use it and cook with it, which was a lot of fun. What a pure joy that was. Some of you might call this a ladle. That's fine. I won't make fun of you for the way you say it, and you don't make fun of me for the way I say it. Just a pleasure to use this ladle out there and to cook some meals in my cook pot. Oats. Had enough oats there for probably 3 days, 3 mornings. Those are nice. If you can't get a fire going or something, or if your energy is just spent, oats are just a fantastic thing to have with you. These are like maple syrup flavored oats, instant oats. I just pour those into my mug. You can eat them hot or cold. Pour hot water on them, pour cold water on them. There you go. You got a meal. So that's a great item to have. They're delicious, they're filling, and they require no special preparation. And they go a long way. I brought one freeze-dried meal with me. I can't remember which one this is. Might be beef stew or something. But I just took one, and with the intention of not even using it, I wanted to cook real food out there. But again, this is kind of like an emergency backup. If I couldn't cook the meals that I had in mind, which required work and preparation, I could always just dump this into my mug and pour some hot water over it and have a meal to eat. I didn't take lunch-specific things on this outing. I just took a bag of nuts. That's all that it is. And that's what I had for supper one night, were just these nuts. It's what I had for most of my lunches. Real simple. Just something to put calories in me. That's another great emergency food. Requires no preparation. You want to have foods like that when you're in the woods. Things that require zero preparation. Like when you're calorie deficient, you need a boost, you want things where you can just reach in your pack and just start eating them. So, plenty of nuts, and you can see all that I've got left over. Those would have lasted me another week. My cutting board and a plate. I took a titanium plate with me this time. And I love my cutting board. It comes in so handy. If you're not using a cutting board, what you'll end up doing if you want to chop up food or work with food, you got to try to find a rock or something to do it on. My cutting board is wonderful. It doesn't dull my blade when I'm using it. The titanium plate is great for not just eating food out of, but for putting stuff into. On one night, I had rice and beans, and I was able to put it all in here and have a nice dining experience there for my supper. I took some pasta with me, and I never got to use that pasta. But boy, I was looking forward to, on that last night I was supposed to be out there that I didn't get to be out there. I was looking forward to using this pasta and doing some fun things with that. Here's my other whiskey bottle. That's what I take. I take 2 Traveler bottles of 100 proof bourbon. And these bottles, I'll reuse those, fill those up with any type of whiskey I want. It doesn't have to be Evan Williams. But the good things about these is that each of these Traveler bottles are 375 milliliters. 2 of those makes up a whole fifth of whiskey. And yeah, it's heavy. It adds weight to your pack. But as you drink them, your pack gets lighter, doesn't it? And man, it's awfully nice, especially in foul weather, to be able to get into your nice warm shelter and take some hits off of that booze. Here is an empty silicone pouch that I took with me. My intention was to soak beans in this, because to prepare beans properly, they have to have some time soaking. So I figured, well, if I'm going to be on foot traveling, how am I going to soak my beans? I decided I would put beans into this silicone pouch, fill this up with water, seal it, and then travel with that all day on foot. And by the time I would get into camp, then I would have my soaked beans, and I could put those on the fire and cook them the rest of the way. I did end up cooking beans, but because my buddy was really sick, we decided to stay in one place for a day. Because we did that, there was no reason for me to use this pouch to soak my beans. We were around camp all day, so I was able to soak my beans right around camp. My Kentucky kernel flour, I didn't get to use that, but I had plans for it. I like the versatility of taking ingredients, not meals, but ingredients, so that you can make lots of different meals. And that's what I did. I didn't have plans, for example, this is specifically what I'm going to do. It was just day by day, I'd think, what am I in the mood for tonight for my supper? What can I do with my ingredients for specifically what I'm in the mood for? And that's how I did that. This is my spice kit. It's come in real handy. Again, lends itself to cooking real meals out in the backcountry. Cinnamon, salt, pepper, paprika, cumin, Tabasco, and garlic. You'll see me using this kit for preparing my meals. And then just a leather strap here to tie it all up. Just keeps that all bundled together. Sazon. This is my favorite allspice or all-purpose spice. It's a Latin spice that's, oh man, smells so good. It goes with everything. This looks like marijuana. It's not. This is yerba mate. I never got to drink my yerba mate, but I had it with me, and man, I was looking forward to enjoying some of that around my campfire. Never got to do it. My water bottle. This is the BCB. I can't remember what the name of it is, but my cook mug is in there, its lid, and my water bottle, and this thing is full of water. I loaded up with water at the very last opportunity before I left the direction of water and was coming out of the woods. My kettle. Oh my goodness, I'm in love with this kettle. She served me real good while I was out there. You can see she's now really nicely broken in. Just a wonderful, wonderful kettle. The best thing about this is it's got no lip that extends out the top, preventing you from using that as a cook pot. Within my kettle, I've got my coffee. I've still got coffee left over in that. Plenty of coffee for every morning that I was out there. This is Starbucks Via. Sometimes I mix that with my oatmeal. Sometimes I drank it with cocoa, which I've got right here. There's cocoa. Got plenty of cocoa left over. There you go. And you can see the tin itself is soaking wet because I didn't have time to dry out my cook pot or my kettle entirely before we headed out. So everything in here is soaking wet, but when I open that up, look, the cocoa is still perfectly dry. That moisture hasn't gotten into there at all. Same thing with the coffee. Boiling cubes. I've talked to you in the past about how important boiling cubes are. My buddy actually dipped into my boiling cube supply on a couple of occasions because he had a sore throat and a cough and everything. He was trying to soothe himself, and he just made a broth out of those boiling cubes and sat around the fire and kind of mothered himself there for a little bit. I use them to cook with. Also in here, I've got my hanging chain. And the way I've done this is I just took I don't even know where I got it, but I used a piece of metal that is a hook. I bent it into the shape I wanted, give me a hook with a length of small chain, and then my paracord. And the idea there is that as the fire is licking up past your pot, it won't affect this chain, it won't affect the hook, and it'll keep your paracord safe from those flames. So that's the way I've done that. And here I kept my teas and water flavorings. When I got sick of drinking just plain water, or I needed to replenish my electrolytes, I keep that stuff in that pouch right there. Candies. These also come in handy for my friend. I've got these old-fashioned candies in there. This is sassafras. I had root beer and horehound. And then the rest of what you see here are Jelly Belly jelly beans. When he was feeling miserable, he kept asking me for my hard candies, and then he could suck on those. Those would soothe his throat and all that. I did a show back in the wintertime about what if you get sick in the backcountry, which is so fantastic because I was prepared for that eventuality, and I was able to kind of keep him comfortable while we were out there. Rice. Cooked with this rice one night. I've still got rice left over. That's the wonderful thing about rice. It will go a long, long way. So there's the rice. Still got plenty. Of course, the tin is all beat up because that's the true nature of the woods. I mean, it's really beat up. It got smushed in there or something. But it's still perfectly usable. Here's my sew kit, my fishing kit and sew kit. This is what I was going to use to sew up that hole in my wool breeches if I had gotten a chance. I just never got the chance. So I've got sewing needles in there. I've got fishing line. I've got a little bobber and all set. I was I regret that I didn't set aside time to do some sewing while I was out there. This is my food bag. I didn't hang my food on any of the nights. But if I had looked around and thought it was necessary, then I had something to do that with. I just put all my food in here, roll this down, clip it, hang that from a tree. Cordage. I don't think all of my cordage made it back in here, but I take a pretty good amount of cordage. It comes in handy for a clothesline. It comes in handy for hanging food. It comes in handy for repairing your broken tripod that your dog broke. My trusty spoon by Human Gear Titanium. I think that is the perfect spoon fork design combo on the market. I love it. And also I took some titanium chopsticks, which I did not end up using, but I took them. If we had been out there for another day or two, I would have got a chance to use them. And finally, my bombilla for my yerba mate. Also never got to use that. But if I'd been out there for another night or two, I definitely would have.